Hello, hello. Happy 2026. Welcome to the first live stream this year. I am excited. We are going to do live readings. I have a couple of people that have sent donations already, so we're going to start with them. Just a little bit of housekeeping first. Give me a second. If you have sent a donation, let me know. So, okay, the way this works is these are donation-based readings. Suggested amount is $25. You can send your donation to the link in the description and in the pinned comment. And once you do send the donation, you can share your date, time, and place of birth with me together with your question. And your question, I do ask that you prioritize a single question so we can get to other people, because the goal is to try and answer as many questions as possible. A couple of housekeeping things before we start. I am doing readings. As you know, I'm a practicing astrologer. Until the end of January, I am running a special on the year ahead readings. If you have personal questions, you want to know what's coming up for you, that is the best way because it's most personalized. You can get a personal reading breaking down the whole year. It always includes a PDF file, which also is chronologically describing all of the important dates for you. You can currently save $20 on the in-person reading with the coupon code 2026, or $40 if you go to the shop, print shop or candle shop, and get a recorded version. I am also doing a free webinar this Saturday on the 24th of January, right? And this webinar, you can also register by just going to my website. It is free. It is designed to look at the annual perfections, which is the first step towards predicting. And all you need to know for that is your age. Of course, it helps to know other things, but this will be somewhat of a preview of my upcoming predictive astrology course. It can also help you learn how to, use sort of astrology for basic predicting and make more conscious choices, optimize your life, and avoid making mistakes. And one last announcement, hang with me. I just made these Venus Cazimi 3 candles on January 5th. They capture the goddess of love in Capricorn conjoining the sun, something we get once every 9 months. The next one is going to happen in the middle of Venus retrograde in October this year. So it's a beautiful, empowered moment for love and relationships, which is captured in this candle. It is pink. It's got rose quartz crystals, and it smells like strawberries and cream. And so I created it on January 5th. If you remember those couple of days being really magical and good for you, consider getting this if you have Venus in her detriment in Aries or Scorpio, Venus in her fall in Virgo, if you're born with natal Venus retrograde, and generally if you need more inspiration and ease in relationships. Okay, thank you guys. Just had to get that out of the way. Okay, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Miss Milado, I saw the donation. Thank you very much. You're saying last reading we got the wrong birthday. For you? How is it? How could we? How? That is crazy. King Capricornio. Hello. Hi, Julia. Yes, do guys join my free webinar. That's like a good way to look at astrology generally and, look at predictive astrology. Oh, okay. Miss Milado says, what is said? You were a Capricorn, but you're a Virgo. So you think the sun sign was wrong. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. I guess we'll redo that. Judith. Okay. Let me see. I do have 2 people on my list. So to start, Judith and Miss Milado. And if you want to join the list, use the link in the description, link in the pinned comment, send your donation. Suggested amount is $25. You can send more if you feel like it. You can send less if you cannot afford $25. Once you do, I will need your date, time, place of birth. and your question. Prioritize one, ideally, so we can get through other people as well. Okay, Judith. Yeah, no worries, Miss Mulatto. I appreciate you sending another donation. And okay, I didn't, Judith, I don't know if you replied to my last email. I was asking if it's okay to share your chart and if your birthday is July 4th or April 7th. I assume because you're from Europe, it's going to be day, month, year, because in the States, we do month, day, year. And that tends to confuse me as someone who's originally from Europe, born in Kazakhstan and lived in Russia a lot of time. But okay, July 4th, and you're saying it's okay to share. Okay, so right now it's Judith and Miss Mulatto. And after that, the list is open. Okay, so let me share Judith's chart. I'm really excited about this webinar. On Saturday, I did not realize that I scheduled it for the day of Saturn-Venus opposition. Saturn opposes Venus in my chart, which hypothetically could be just a sign of having to be really responsible and spend Saturday doing work, which I knew, but hopefully it's not like other stuff that could be irritating. Okay. So I also need to get, I feel like I need to get like a webcam because this just is so blown out and I don't like it. Me being a Libra rising, I feel like we got aesthetic. Okay. So Judith, confirming I got Cancer Sun, Capricorn Moon, Libra rising for you. First thing I noticed while looking at your chart is you being a full moon child, and that always tends to symbolize a fuller life, fuller of sometimes challenging experiences, sometimes positive experiences. Full moon babies also tend to have a higher potential of becoming known for something, becoming recognized for something. Being like, you know, the biggest star, but can definitely suggest getting a sense of, yeah, becoming recognized for things or reaching mastery in a certain regard. So Judith question, I would love to know more about my career, life purpose, and vacation. And so you're looking to find your truthful path is what Judith was saying. And Judith, do confirm that this is indeed accurate for you as far as Cancer, Sun, Cap, Moon, Libra rising. So we are not looking at the wrong chart for you. And then we can take a look at all the questions about career and vacation. Okay, so you're saying, yes, it is. Okay, so career and the path, right? Those don't have to be the same. They can be different, or they can be the same depending on kind of how you look at it, your as your career. Okay. Your midheaven, which is the angle of career, is in the 11th house, and it suggests that your profession involves group people. It involves large organizations, so working for large organizations. It involves social media, being visible. It also gives you oftentimes like a very bright, solar, and noticeable personality. And having on in the 10th house also suggests being seen as a leader, being seen as somebody people are looking up to. Chiron in Leo would be a complication to that. It might suggest that you sometimes struggle seeing your own light and seeing yourself as that authority figure or that person that others look up to. And so that might be part of your career, part of your path is finding other people, let's say, who struggle with that and encouraging them, and through that also learning to believe in yourself. So career, yeah, like career that involves maybe even sharing some of your vulnerabilities with other people. Sometimes when you have Chiron in the 11th house, you may feel like it's really hard to find your people you truly gel with. Like it might feel like friends hurt you, or there's some kind of painful, you try to fit in, you try to really give your best, always recognized. And so that is also something where I would like recommend that you focus on like quality of people in your life versus quantity in your life. Being a teacher, I love this Jupiter in your first house. So lucky and so generous with other people. The ruler of your chart is Venus in the 8th, which can also be crucial for gaining access to resources of other people, marrying rich, finding a rich business partner. And then so your South Node, when we're talking about karmic purpose, I would tend to look at the South Node and North Node combination. And South Node represents the gifts that you have and the blessings that you're coming into this life with. And so with the South Node in Gemini, there's very clear like social skills, I think, right? Libra rising, South Node in Gemini, Saturn in Aquarius, very good at getting along with people, very good at fitting in with others, very kind of like socially aware. I feel like we Libra risings tend to be really like, we want things to be fair. We always try to kind of do our best, and we notice what other people are doing. That's likely not just Libra risings. I think any air sign, Gemini rising and Aquarius rising, will be very socially aware. But it's also for you in the house of education. And so you may find yourself being this like eternal, maybe looking for the next thing, really comfortable in the academia, being the one who's always like learning and absorbing. But North Node in the 3rd actually suggests that you have to balance it with making something, right? In the 9th, you're learning about things. You're kind of exploring philosophy and these grand concepts, but you're maybe sticking to your comfort zone. And the 3rd house, North Node in Sagittarius, there is this pull to go into, first of all, being more embodied, right? Like 3rd house on a very simple level, like being with yourself. And like, instead of being in your mind, because South Node in Gemini and Gemini strong or air strong people could be very much like in their heads a lot. And so North Node in Sagittarius, I think it's about like being more present, being in the body, being more connected with people around you, creating again some kind of like community, maybe of people who share similar interests to you. It's interesting because when you have like North Node and Sag, there may be a lot of these, like even this question of like, what is my true purpose? And there may be a sense that you find something, you get excited about it, and you're like, okay, this is it. But then you get bored with it. And then it's the next thing and the next thing. And so part of the purpose of Sagittarius North Node is actually understanding yourself and exploring yourself and maybe enjoying the journey and not putting this like, putting too much pressure on figuring out. And, if we're looking at this tension of like being a student in the 9th house versus being a business owner, a communicator, a writer, someone who's known for their skills, someone who's known for their speech, this is the 3rd house. So like, yeah, maybe writing. I feel like Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, you see a lot of writers. Retrograde can be quite like retentive, remember writing, journalist, being somehow involved with your community, I think. Does that resonate? Are you seeking to be more involved with your community? Is there like, what do you do right now? I wonder. Okay, Omar, I do see you. And I will add you to my list. And Judith, that is what I'm seeing for you. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Otherwise, I may move on to Miss Milano. And for people who are watching right now, the list is Judith, who we are wrapping up, Omar. So if you want to get on the list, send the donation via the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and then share your information. If you want it to be private, email it to me at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com and specify, like, put it in big letters, I would like it to be private. And if you're okay with it being public, just share it in the chat. That is fine as well. So Judith, do share. I see Miss Milano. Okay, great. Okay, I see an email from Abby. I don't see the donation from Abby yet. Maybe it's coming up. Judith is saying, yeah, that's a big topic with the community. Actually, I did acting for a long time, but I never found the right people. This was very hard. Still, I love it. Just sometimes I ask myself why this is so hard. Yeah, Chiron in the 11th can create this sense of like it's harder to find belonging. But I think again it's sort of like not, it's not about the quantity of people, it's about the quality of people. And it's also about you learning to believe that you deserve sort of the right people in your life and not bending over backwards for people who don't value or appreciate you. I feel like I like creative career, but I wonder if it's again about you taking sort of control. Like maybe it's about joining the local theater, maybe it's about writing your own story that you want to act in. Just perhaps, kind of believing in your own knowledge and your own ideas. So I hope this helps. Okay. I am going to stop sharing. Okay. Miss Milano saying sharing is fine. Okay. Let me pull up your information. So crazy that last time we had you as a Capricorn. Like how is that even possible? Or yeah, just having a different, was it a different rising sign maybe that we had for you? Because I feel like, I don't know. I always tend to ask for like sun, moon, and rising before we start. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm just surprised by the fact that somehow it got through. I feel like your chart looks familiar, like in this shape. Okay, so your question was, what is the current transit saying about right now with all the Aquarius energy going on? So you're just basically curious, how is all of this Aquarius energy affecting you? Judith says, thank you very much for the share. Yeah, this maybe I'm thinking about that as an actress. I at first thought I'm dependent on others because I am, so my way is maybe more finding to be my own authority in it. That could be, yeah, that could be it for sure. I think in the third house, it's like taking ownership of your skills and writing something for yourself and like, yeah, finding sort of ways to do it, even if you start on a small scale. Okay, Miss Milano, let me see. Capricorn rising, Virgo sun, Scorpio moon. Yeah, I feel like I remember this. I remember you having 8th house stellium. So I don't know. I don't know how we could have looked at something wrong. Okay. So Miss Milano saying, yes, I took on a new work, but it's new clients. You're saying I don't know either, but I have gotten a couple of readings from you in the past. Yeah, that's why I feel like your chart looks very familiar. Okay, so Aquarius transits. Let me actually close this for a second. You're saying you're an entertainer. Okay, that sounds familiar too. Yeah, I feel like we've chatted before. So Aquarius transits. So we've had the big theme in your second house is Pluto, right? And Pluto has entered first time between March and June 2024. And then, oh, was it 2023? I think 2023, March into June. Then like January into September or something 2024. And then in November 2024, it enters for good, and it's going to stay in your second house for 20 years approximately until 2043. So generally, Pluto is here to slowly transform how you make money and how you even look at money. It is a sign of professional transformation. It is a sign of letting go of like a lack mentality, any fears, any sort of maybe tendency to grab onto things or hold on to things, right? Your second house is Aquarius. So maybe you have very like unorthodox view of finances, but it's still a fixed sign. So there may be a little bit of like tendency to, especially because it's like Saturn ruled, Aquarius is Saturn ruled. So maybe there's some, I don't know, some fears, some sort of worries around finances that need to be released. And we do have a lot of energy in Aquarius from the final third of January. Venus went in here on the 17th. The sun is about to go in here like in 2 or 3 hours from now. Mercury, Mars, there's going to be Mercury Cazimi here on the 21st, I believe. Let me see. Of course, my mouth decides to stop working just when I need it. Well, I can do it another way. Work, but let's see, January 2026. Just a reminder, you guys, I am doing a free webinar this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, dedicated to annual perfections, which is a powerful predictive technique. Very carries so much in it. So visit my website to register. Yeah, January 21st, there is a Mercury Cazimi. And there are a ton of Pluto conjunctions. So Venus conjoins Pluto on the 19th. Mercury conjoins Pluto on the 22nd. Sun conjoins Pluto on the 23rd. Mars conjoins Pluto on the 27th. So it's just one after another. And all that this is doing is emphasizing the themes that Pluto is trying to bring into your second house. So it's, and you're saying it's almost conjunct your Uranus. You're like still probably 3-4 years away from that. Pluto moves very slowly. So it's close to your Uranus. It's within 6 degrees, but it's like, it's almost like years away. So I don't know if I would necessarily worry about it being conjunct your Uranus, but I think there is sort of an interesting connection to your Uranus, because when you're born with Uranus in the second house, you are quite independent in your finances. You're someone who, let's say, not necessarily going to want to like share all of your money with your partner. You might choose to have like separate finances. Yeah, it's going to conjoin your natal Uranus in 2029. So it's still 4 years away. But I think the fact that you have Uranus in the second house just suggests that there's this need to be independent financially. And you might also be going through ups and downs, sometimes financially, making more, sometimes making less, maybe having like sudden expenses. Ultimately, it's like a sign of needing to be independent and unique ways, right? Like unorthodox ways. For some people, they might look at, I am not ready to have this unstable income. And you're like, yeah, but it gives me freedom and I'd rather have that kind of income. Saying, is this bad? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Pluto Uranus. It might be like sort of opportunity to revolutionize everything. And you're saying, yes, this is true, very independent, go-getter, and private. Yeah. So I think Pluto just wants you to find ways to have more stability here and to have maybe like different financial opportunities. So, but you're saying, so have you noticed that things are changing in your financial life? Have you noticed that maybe your values are changing? That Pluto has been in your first house of identity from 2008 until like 2024, right? It may have changed the way you see yourself so much. And so now that is going into your house of money and values. And it's almost like now you know who you are. Take this, create abundance, create wealth, but don't be afraid to destroy some things in the process. No, like murdering people or setting internally, right? Releasing certain like fears and embracing new opportunities and maybe taking some risks. You're saying, is this something I should be concerned about at all during Aquarius season? What do you mean? Like, what exactly are you worrying you should be concerned about? I'm still here. I'm just going to put Mike says, big week for us Libra risings because of the Venus and Pluto conjunction, or why? Because of all of the Aquarius stuff? Because of Neptune going into Aries? What is? And you're saying, okay, yes, but I have so much Leo and Aquarius energy. Yeah. So this is it. This is, I think it's an important, I'm glad you mentioned it because I haven't mentioned it yet myself. What all of this is doing is it's squaring your midheaven and it's opposing your Leo planets. And Mars in the 8th rules your 11th house, your community, your social relationships, and it rules your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. And Scorpio is private, and you mentioned that you're private. And Leo really wants to be liked and wants to, Leo is this sort of bright and noticeable and royal type of energy, but a lot of times it sort of gets caught in the idea of like appearances and being a certain way, being perceived a certain way. And so what this Aquarius energy is doing, it's very much, I think, urging you to break away from that and to not worry about how people perceive you. And you're born with a Grand Cross in your chart. And Grand Cross is this, you have all 4 fixed signs represented. You have Scorpio moon, you have 3 planets in Leo, you have Saturn in Taurus, you have Uranus in Aquarius. So there's a lot of fixed energy, and maybe even though you're a mutable Virgo, you can probably be quite set in your ways, right? And quite stubborn about certain things and quite traditional maybe, or Saturn in Taurus might place a lot of value on like having stability. And so I just think pay attention to all of these Pluto hit points, because that could be, especially because even though Pluto doesn't yet conjoin your Uranus or oppose your Mars, it's going to do that. And so what these little kind of like, maybe it's a conversation, an opportunity you hear about, maybe it's a movie you watch that touches you emotionally, but like there will be clues on what this will be about. You're saying, I love my grand trine, it keeps me going and flowing. Fire? No, what are we talking about? Water. No. What's your grand trine? Oh, Earth. Earth. I see. Yes, I see. Ascendant, Sun, and Saturn. That is good. Grounded as well. So yeah, if you're saying standards getting higher, maybe it's about taking more risks professionally, maybe it's about doing new things, maybe it's about doing things differently, right? Like Pluto and Aquarius will be march to the beat of your own drum, create your own show. Don't worry what people think of you. Don't be afraid to sort of break away from what they expect of you, because we're gonna have so much of that, all of us, in 2026, as the North Node enters Aquarius in July and the South Node goes into Leo. And so there will be a lot of sort of like shedding for you specifically of what people expect of you, and like worrying less about them liking you and going more in the direction of like, just be quirky, be odd, own your uniqueness. And we've had this, well, you would have been a bebe, but we've had this in 2008, 2009. So if you remember like ways in which you were maybe a quirky 10-year-old, that could be fun. You're saying with Aquarius energy, mean not to take it too far with the money. Does it mean not to take it too far with making money? What do you mean by taking it too far? I mean, I wouldn't recommend being reckless, but I feel like there should be like a good balance between fearing things, which Pluto is squaring your Saturn, and taking risks. Mike is saying, maybe I'm just thinking about my particular chart. Also, that new relationship has taken a sudden turn for the better. Oh, that's good. You said that you were like almost breaking up or something, right? And it's not, Miss Milano, it's not just about the money, right? Second house is your priority. Second house is what you value in life. And so I think there's going to be important, and then in the process there might be some profits. Pluto in the second does mean career changes. So maybe between now and 2043 you'll go through some important shifts. You're saying, I'm an entertainer, I take a new client, but they're not regular clients, they're high status, but potentially comes with that world, so I'm cautious. Yeah, I don't know if it's about like taking different clients or if it has to do with maybe just sort of like figuring out different ways of showing up that allow you more freedom. And that, I mean, you do have the moon in Scorpio, right? Moon in Scorpio has this sort of awareness of passions and intensity and darkness, and sort of the darkness and light energy. And so I just feel like you are coming up. There will be some shifts in the way you make money, especially as Uranus also goes into your sixth house. New interests, new passions, maybe like a side job, something else you're doing. Uranus in the sixth can bring strong awareness to health and using AI, using technology in your work. Again, sort of even more freedom and independence. You're saying, I just want to be, Miss Mulatto says, I just want to be a ghost, but I know in my job I can't do that all the time. Maybe you can use AI to like create a different level of work for yourself. So I hope that helps. Okay, I see Marie. Mary? I don't know how to Mary. Ooh, there's like a weird bug floating about. I just came from vacation, you guys, and it is so sad because I was in the warmest climate ever, and now I am back in the cold New York City, and it's so gray. Okay. So right now it's Omar and Mary. I think it's Marie, right? Because Mary is spelled Mary, but it could be spelled differently. So yes, right now we have Omar and Marie. And correct me if I'm saying your name incorrectly. And also, Omar and Marie, do let me know if it's okay to share your chart or not. Hi. I am correct by saying Marie. Mike says New York City has been so cold and gray. I'm not a fan. And Omar says it's okay to share the chart. And Marie says it's okay to share their chart as well. Okay. Yeah, I came from like bluest water and so warm and so colorful. And now it's just like, why? Why do people live in the cold New York City? Mike is asking, do I ever do in-person readings at a bar or venue? I know some astrologers in New York City that do that. I have done in-person readings. I don't do it often just because I have clients all over the place, like in Europe and lots in the States. And so just for convenience sake, I think, and because my clients are all over the place, but I have done it for people who specifically requested. And I've had a client who lives in London and Germany, and she was visiting New York, and we did a reading in person, and a couple of other people in New York City. So it's an option. If you're interested, you can let me know. Okay, so Omar and Astrolofax, thank you for wishing us happy Aquarius season. Love to humanity and for those in need. Okay, Omar. What is your question, Omar? I don't think I'm seeing it. You can share it in the chat since you said that it's okay to share your information. Okay, so I want to focus this year on finding a clearer path or purpose. I spent a decade trying different things, and I am getting a bit tired of the same cycle. Okay. A lot of questions around karmic purpose today. So let me share your chart. So we have Gemini, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, Scorpio, Rising. Is this correct for you? And we have one more person with North Node and Sagittarius. Okay. Clear path or purpose. Spend a decade trying different things and getting a bit tired of the same cycle. So it's interesting because your chart is very similar to the first chart we looked at today. And you've got the Sun in Gemini, North Node. So the Sun in Gemini, South Node in Gemini, North Node in 。Midheaven in Leo, Mars Chiron conjunction. So Mars Chiron conjunction is an interesting one because it may suggest that when you try to be assertive or when you express your anger, there is some type of wounding that's happening, whether you feel triggered by the anger of other people or you feel like you can't quite go for things that you want. There may be sort of rejection or pain that comes from expressing your desires. But I think with Chiron and Mars together, you're actually meant to learn how to express your anger. But I wonder if so I would always recommend doing things to appease Mars and acknowledge Mars in your chart. And that would be lifting weights and going to martial arts classes and sort of connecting with the warrior within you. But because it's in your house of career, there can also be work that perhaps helps other people. And having Jupiter in the 12th house ruling your North Node in the house of money and values, to me, also suggests that perhaps you're meant to use your voice and your anger to fight for people and to encourage people, to empower people, because Chiron in Leo is really, really good at helping others see their worth, where you may struggle with your own worth and your own strength and sort of power. What's interesting is we have South Node right now in Virgo, and then it's going to go into Leo, and then we have North Node in Pisces, and North Node is going to go into Aquarius, your fourth house. So on some level, you're actually may feel in the next couple of years less driven to go into like creative and imaginative and yeah, maybe do something that sort of feels like it feeds your soul a little bit more. You also have this Moon Pluto conjunction, which is also a sign of someone who I feel like you see things below the surface quite clearly because you've got the sun in the eighth house. You're probably very aware of other people. Your South Node in the eighth house also suggests like a lot of obstacles, a lot of maybe emotional, difficult things when you were younger, maybe connected to both of your parents, because the moon Pluto could have brought like intensity and difficulty to the life of the mother. Having the sun in the eighth house can also suggest that the father is either the father can work in some kind of non-traditional, unpredictable, chaotic environment and maybe not always be visible to you. And so I feel like that's also a strength, right? Because it gives you strong intuition and ability to relate with people and ability to kind of like perceive things that others might not perceive. And what you're working on in this lifetime, though, is going kind of finding the chaos and perhaps like ability to be calm under pressure, or like you can always deal with difficult situations. You're familiar with difficult situations, but you can also find balance by traveling and learning and exploring and creating. And so I think that's where a lot of like exciting possibilities may lie for you. And it's again very similar to the first reading we did today, where it's not necessarily about like one answer, right? Because North Node and Sag can be like hungry for a purpose. It's like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And like trying to put a tag of a purpose on every single thing you. I think it's more about like trying to enjoy yourself, keep like being curious and asking questions, right? And maybe like traveling, meeting people, like learning astrology. Come join my course. It begins in March. And then there's going to be another one in the fall, I think. So yeah, kind of like creating financial stability, who you are. But also I think doing this kind of like healing, creative, imaginative work. You're saying I'm good at solving problems and have helped people throughout my life. I have gone through a decade of mental and emotional suffering. Age 21. age 31, death, rebirth cycle. That might be part of your karmic purpose, karmic path rather, because of the south node in the 8th house. But north node in the 2nd is actually suggesting that the path out of chaos is maybe by kind of prioritizing like knowledge and travel and spirituality, instead of like, Gemini can be a little bit like a kid in the candy store, or like a monkey brain, monkey mind, going for something new always, and like scrolling and getting lost in solving other people's problems. But like with Sagittarius, it will be about learning astrology, meditating, maybe finding purpose through some kind of like I think it has to be self-understanding, but I think it has to be like self-understanding through spiritual means, and potentially even using that, because like Mars Chiron conjunction in the 10th house, Jupiter in the 12th house, ruling the house of money making, does suggest like making money through spiritual ways and means. I'm sorry you're going through a lot of death and rebirth cycles. I don't think it's always going to be like that. I think if you maybe explore, sort of bring more awareness to it, and like learn a little bit about even, like Reiki or some kind of spiritual healing, I think that could be very helpful. And yeah, like Jupiter being the ruler of your north node, being in the 12th house, I think it's like not about trying to run away from the pain, but instead trying to learn from it, which I'm sure you have been doing, because it sounds like you are thinking about what you've been through. But yeah, like I think it's about creating financial stability and finding ways to have sort of security in this world, where if you know that things can go up in flames at any point, like what is it that brings you stability? And maybe it's not always about the best job or money, but it's about having like stability in your mind, having a sense of contentment, having a yoga practice, having a meditation practice, like having sort of spiritual rituals that make you feel at ease. You're saying this past decade, I have traveled and tried a lot of jobs and investment, small businesses. Yeah, this is very much a placement of like you're meant to be making money through foreign lands and working with foreign people. You can also be making money through working with people in like isolated or troubled situations, like people in mental institution, prison, hospital, making money through writing, through creative type of work, through like connecting with foreign people and connecting with like spiritual interests, and maybe doing work that serves others is what I'm seeing for you. So I hope this helps. The next person on my list is Marie. And I have your information, and I think you said that it's okay to. You're welcome, Omar. Thank you for your donation. So right now, Marie is the final person on the list. If anyone wants to jump on, do so. And if not, I will wrap up after we do Marie's reading. Okay. And do join my free webinar on Saturday. It's about the powerful predictive technique, and you can sign up on my website. It's free. Oh, Marie, do you still live in Hawaii? How amazing is that? I have been to Honolulu, and it's so pretty. So the question is, what is the best way for me to make money? Please suggest careers, jobs that resonate with my chart. Okay. You're not in Hawaii currently? Are you still in the warm climate or no? And is this correct for you? Gemini Sun, Capricorn, Sagittarius rising. And look at that. We have another Jupiter in Libra. 3 people today with Jupiter in Libra. I like to see it as a Libra rising. I'm like, how awesome is that? Cold climate. Okay. Well, maybe you like it after being born in Hawaii, but I'm like, how can anyone like cold climate in Hawaii? Okay, so you're saying your question is, what is the best way for you to make money? Also, could you this is indeed correct for you? Gemini, Sun, Capricorn, Moon, Sagittarius rising. And we will take a look at what your chart says. Okay, correct. So again, before I start Marie's reading, she is currently the last person on the list. So if anybody else wants to jump on, send the donation through the link in the description or link in the pinned comment. And once you do, suggested amount is 25 for that. Once you do, share your birthday information, date, time, and place, either in the chat or send me an email at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com. And if you want your information to be kept private, specify it in the email saying that I'd love my information to be private. Okay, so Marie, you have the moon in Capricorn in the second house of money. That can suggest being an emotional spender, right? Someone who maybe like you spend money when you need to soothe yourself. It can also be a sign of doing work professionally that is nurturing or also creative, potentially imaginative type of work, right? The moon is about helping, feeding people, so being a chef, I think the ruler of your second house of money is Saturn in the 6th. So I think like you're meant to be of service to people somehow, one way or another, right? It could be owning a cleaning business. It could be being a chef. It could be being like hostess or waitress or a manager or someone who works at a doctor's office, like a front desk at a doctor's office. And I'll keep sort of elaborating on what I'm seeing, but there's definitely like the moon in the second house can also suggest like being an emotional spender and also maybe like some fluctuations, financially going through a little bit ups and downs sometimes, but creative and sort of nurturing careers I can see. Saturn in the 6th might suggest that you often find yourself in a position where like you have to grind a lot and maybe it feels frustrating. Like if you end up being in a position of service, like people don't appreciate always what you do for them. And so the goal here would be finding work that makes you happy. So your midheaven is in Libra. Midheaven is the angle of the career. It's also the highest point in the sky that the sun gets to. And since you're born in June, the sun would have reached its peak, relatively early in the day, I'd say. But don't mind that. The whole point here is that midheaven is the angle of career and it's placed in the 11th house. And so that also suggests that your professional success is less about kind of having like a job. It's more about doing work that makes the world a better place. In the 11th house, when the midheaven is in the 11th house, it's like every tree is known by its fruit. So you would feel professionally successful when people you touched are feeling happier and more empowered. And so you have a few things here, right? Like midheaven in the 11th also suggests doing work for like a large organization, working with large groups of people, finding yourself in a position of like facilitating, being a diplomat. I can see you working in education. I can see you having work that involves like a lot of travel or working with foreign people. Maybe it's like working at a university as like a student advisor, right? Because the ruler of the midheaven is Venus in the ninth house of education. And if you can let me know what kind of jobs you've had so far, that would be really helpful. Uranus will be rising professionally. It can suggest that, you know, you go through ups and downs and you maybe have sudden like opportunities present themselves, but and then sudden endings professionally can show up as well. Jupiter would be quite benevolent. I think Jupiter may suggest that you generally are quite blessed with the people in your network, maybe have access. It's maybe there are some ups and downs when it comes to your network as well. Maybe it's not always stable, but it can suggest that there's definitely like good people. I think you likely have like good people in your life. And so another thing you can do here is maybe being like a blogger or a social media person, being like a YouTuber, right? Because Uranus would want you to do work that uses technology, AI, science, gives you freedom, allows maybe, yeah, sort of requires some kind of flexibility. Also, I totally understand, you know, a lot of Sag risings are currently going through this kind of period of professional reinvention and also a sense of dissatisfaction with what they're doing for a living because South Node is currently in Virgo and South Node is like encouraging you to let go of maybe a vision you had for yourself and be more open-minded return as well. So there is this kind of sense of like, if you're tired with playing a service role and not being appreciated, the North Node in Pisces might suggest that it's maybe a time to like take a break and go focus on your mental health and go take a nap and read some books and study astrology or study something spiritual so that you can reinvent yourself. I can also see you going to school relatively soon because Jupiter is going to go into your ninth house and like you may go on a trip, you may go back to school, you may study astrology. I am teaching in March. You may join some kind of interesting spiritual quest and perhaps discover yourself anew. Do you have any questions, any sort of follow-up thoughts? Do you want to share what type of work you've been doing before? Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of sort of sense of like impulsivity in regards to money and maybe other people costing you money sometimes, like having family members. You've got Mars in its fall in the eighth house. That could sometimes suggest like risks, financial risks that do not pay off, or a partner who maybe takes financial risks that do not pay off. So something to be aware of. And I would recommend, working on your own Mars. And the way you work on your Mars is by bringing awareness to this inner warrior that we all have somewhere, and maybe doing martial arts, maybe lifting weights. I have exalted Mars candle that could be really good for you because it actually falls in your second house of money, and it could be beneficial for being strategic and practical and focused and kind of good at increasing your wealth. Okay, you're saying after earning my biology degree, I became a stay-at-home mother. I'm currently taking a Hellenistic astrology. Oh, look at that. You're already studying astrology. And you're saying your lot of fortune is in the eighth house. So that's awesome. I actually, I just like started teaching astrology last year, and one of my students was a Sagittarius rising. And so she's and she's like at the crossroads. And I have another client who just left her job and is trying to figure out how to like have more freedom professionally. I feel like, with your North Node in the 4th, the fact that you became a stay-at-home mother kind of makes sense, because North Node in the 4th will bring a lot of focus on home and family. And so you've done that. I mean, right now your path is curving a little bit and redirecting you, or directing you towards like new heights. But that's what I'm seeing. Let me know if you have any like follow-up questions. And if anybody else wants a reading, now is the time to do it. Otherwise, I will wrap up. And the way to do it, there is a link to send your donation. Suggested amount is 25. Once you do, you can put your birthday information and your question in the chat, or email me and specify that you'd like your information to be private. Marie says, I'm at a crossroads of going further with the astrology, or to use my biology degree as a coach or something. Can you merge both? Can you do like a mix of biology and astrology, or like medical astrology? I don't think there's a ton of people. Oh, you just said it, medical astrology. Yeah, like there's not a ton of people who do it, not at least to my knowledge. So I feel like that could be like a cool Uranus and Jupiter, right? Like astrology, but make it niche, make it medical, and then like even starting a YouTube channel to talk about that. That could be pretty awesome. So I think I like that for you. I think Jupiter in the 11th is a really supportive placement. You're welcome. I'm glad it resonated. So we don't really have anyone else on the list. Thank you to everyone who has joined. Thank you to people who have sent donations. I appreciate all of you guys. Join my webinar. I am doing a webinar. It's free. You can register on my website. It's dedicated to the annual perfection technique, titled 12 Years, 12 Chapters. Every 12 years, we circle the natal chart, and every year of your life connects to a specific house. So in this webinar, I will break down predicting with the annual perfections, and it's totally free. So it's easy to join and register. And if you can't attend live, the recording will also be available. Check out my newest candle. I think I only have like 8 of these left. They sold pretty quickly. A bunch of them already have been claimed. This is Venus Cazimi 3. Really good for relationships, attracting love, creating peace and ease in your life. It's on my website. I shipped a bunch of them today, so you can still get yours. And yeah, reach out if you have, sorry, there's a bug flying around. Reach out if you have any questions, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye, everyone.